Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now on Saturday, the Sun Belt Championship game is taking place between the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and the Troy Trojans. Who do I think is going to win this game? Let's break it down. Now, Coastal is 9-2 and 6-2 in the Sun Belt to start this season, and Jamey Chadwell has done a great job with Coastal Carolina on having that program transition over from the FCS to the FBS. He's done a great job, and Coastal Carolina is having a great season this year as well. And in Week 1, they beat Army 38-28, and that was a good win. Then they beat Gardner-Webb 31-27, and that was a close win over an FCS program, but they were able to pull it out. Then they beat Buffalo 38-26, and that was a good win. Then they won at Georgia State 41-24. Then they beat Georgia Southern 34-30. Then they won at UL Monroe 28-21, so all close wins there, but they were able to pull it out. Then they lost to Old Dominion 49-21. That was not a very good loss. Old Dominion has beaten a couple good teams this season, but still, Coastal Carolina should have won this game. Then they beat Marshall on the road 24-13. That was a good win. Then they beat App State 35-28, and that was a great win. App State is struggling a little bit this season, especially in the second half of the season, but it was still a great win for Coastal. And Grayson McCall did get banged up in the App State game, and that really hurt. In their next game, they beat Southern Miss 26-23, and that was a tough win because they were able to pull it out, but without Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina is a different team. Then the Virginia game got canceled. Again, rest in peace to the Virginia players. But then they lost at James Madison 47-7. And this was a game that they were not competitive in at all, and it really showed that Coastal Carolina was really struggling without Grayson McCall, and their defense did not play well in this game. And James Madison looked like a team that definitely wanted to show that they belonged in the Sun Belt Championship game because of the fact that James Madison, technically with the tiebreaker, should be able to be in this championship game, but since James Madison is just transitioning over from the FCS to the FBS like Coastal Carolina, they were not eligible for the Sun Belt Championship game, but that's a whole other topic for another day. But in that James Madison game, quarterback Jarrett Guest at 99 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 26 rushing yards. He is nowhere near as good as Grayson McCall. And Coastal Carolina, they have said that Grayson McCall could play in this game, but he is still banged up from the injury he suffered in the App State win. And Coastal Carolina can't have Grayson McCall. It's going to be really tough because Bryce Carpenter is just a runner, and Jarrett Guest is definitely not the passer that Grayson McCall is. Running back Reese White at 29 yards and wide receiver Tyson Mobley at 38 yards and a touchdown. Coastal Carolina has a really good offense, but they really struggle in the James Madison game, and they have really struggled without Grayson McCall. And on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker J.T. Killen at 3 tackles, linebacker Joe Cash at 3 tackles, and safety Joshua Madison at 3 tackles for Coastal Carolina against James Madison. And Coastal Carolina's defense has played really good at times this season, but they've had a few games, including the James Madison game, where their defense has played pretty badly. But they do have a really solid defense. They've just been slightly inconsistent. And again, Coastal Carolina is a really good offense, but without Grayson McCall right now, it's not the same offense that it used to be. Now on the Troy side, they're 10-2 and 7-1 in the Sun Belt to start this season, and Jon Sumrall in his first season as the Troy head coach has done a fantastic job. They're having a great season. They have found ways to win a lot of games, and they're having a fantastic season. And in Week 1, they lost at Ole Miss 28-10, and that was a tough loss because Ole Miss is a great SEC team, and Troy cannot find a way to win that game. Then they beat Alabama A&M 38-17. That was a good win. Then they lost at App State 32-28, and that was a tough loss. But since that game, they've won every game they've played this season, and they have found ways to win a lot of these games. They beat Marshall 16-7, and that was a close win. Then they won at Western Kentucky 34-27. That was a good win. Then they beat Southern Miss 27-10. Then they beat Texas State 17-14. Then they beat South Alabama 10-6 on the road. Then they won at Louisiana Lafayette 23-17. Then they beat Army 10-9. So all these are very close, low-scoring wins for Troy. Then they beat UL Monroe 34-16, and in the final game of the regular season, they won at Arkansas State 48-19. So their offense finally showed up. But in a lot of these games, Troy has found ways to win. That's a good thing, but it does show that Troy might not be too much better than the teams that they were able to beat, but they found ways to win. Quarterback Gunnar Watson had 144 yards, a touchdown, and an interception against Arkansas State, and he's a decent quarterback. He is slightly turnover prone, but he is a solid quarterback. Running back Kamani Vidal at 208 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's a fantastic running back for Troy. He gets a lot of yards on the ground, and he definitely helps Troy's offense. And wide receiver Rajay Johnson at 101 yards. So Troy has a good offense. Their running game is fantastic. If their passing game can get to be at the level of their rushing attack, then Troy's offense can be fantastic. And on the defensive side of the ball, safety TJ Harris at 4 tackles, linebacker Terry Thomas at 3 tackles, and defensive lineman TJ Jackson at 2 tackles for Troy against Arkansas State. And Troy's defense has been fantastic this season. A lot of games they have won because their defense was able to get enough stops, because Troy struggled on offense to score a lot of points, but their defense found a lot of ways for them to win. So who do I think is going to win this game? This game is very interesting. It has intrigue all over it because Coastal Carolina has played fantastic this whole season, and Jamey Chadwell's done a great job at Coastal Carolina. We know the talent that Coastal Carolina has, but if Grayson McCall is not able to play in this game, that is going to make a big difference, because Coastal Carolina does not look like the same team without him. They are really struggling, and they just got blown out against James Madison, a team that should be in this game right now, but again, due to the NCAA, James Madison is not eligible because of the fact they have transitioning over. But Coastal Carolina, they're a really solid team. They play well all season, but without Grayson McCall, they are really struggling right now. And even though Troy's offense has struggled at times to score a lot of points, I think that's going to be neutralized by the fact that Coastal Carolina is struggling to put up points right now as well without Grayson McCall. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think Troy's defense is playing really well this season, and they have found a lot of ways for Troy to win. And Jon Sumrall's done a great job at Troy to get his players to believe they can win games. They've found a lot of ways to win close games. Their defense has been fantastic, and even though their offense has been struggling a little bit this season, I'm going to go with Troy to beat Coastal Carolina 28-21. I think Coastal Carolina can win this game, and again, if Grayson McCall was playing, I would maybe even pick Coastal Carolina, but without him, if he is not able to play, and it's more likely than not that he's not going to play, then Coastal Carolina's offense is really going to struggle in this game without him. And even though Troy's offense does struggle as well, Troy's defense has been playing better this season than Coastal Carolina by a little bit, and I think that's going to be the difference. And I think Troy's going to beat Coastal Carolina 28-21 in the Sun Belt Championship game. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think Troy or Coastal Carolina is going to win this game and why. And I will see you next time.